Howdy and welcome back to the channel. For any first timers, my name is Alan and this is my life in Taiwan. For any recently new subscribers, then thanks a million for joining the team, and for all you long-time supporters of the channel, welcome back. It's great to have you here. But enough of the pleasantries, let's jump straight into today's topic and talk about this China versus USA trade war that has been raging recently. And let's take a look at how I think it will affect us here in Taiwan.
Game on here. A trade war between the United States and China is here. It's real.
The Trump administration is escalating a trade war with China.
This is number one, but this is the first of many.
Well, first of all, it might be a good idea to explain exactly what has happened for anybody that has been living under a rock for the past couple of months. And the basics of the story are that President Trump, in all his infinite wisdom, has been complaining about China's trade practices since long before he took office in 2016. But in 2017, the US government conducted an official investigation into China's trade policies and afterwards imposed huge tariffs or extra charges on over 200 billion US dollars worth of Chinese goods being imported into the US. And of course, China then retaliated in kind and did the same on US goods heading east to China. East or west? Probably west, But anyway, these tariffs have reached as much as 25% on certain goods. And I feel the goal of both countries is simply to make their home-produced products cheaper and more attractive to consumers, therefore boosting the industry and economy of their own countries rather than that of another country. That's about the level of economics that I can understand. Pretty straightforward stuff, I think, but anything more complicated than that, and I'm out of my depth. But all of this tariff charging is not only a risky move for the two countries involved, but also for the global economy, as one economic organization out of Paris has claimed that it could knock 600 billion US dollars off of the global GDP within 2 to 3 years. Not, of course, that would bother Trump, of course. He lives in America, so who cares about the rest of the world, right? So that's the very basics of these tit-for-tat tariffs and a very simple reasoning for it. But let's face it, does Donald Trump really need a reason for anything he does?
What a stupid question that is.
But we are not here to discuss the validity or the rights or wrongs of the situation. What I want to discuss is how such huge economic sanctions between the world's top two economies will affect us, being that we also do a lot of trade with both countries. And when I first heard about the trade war, my first instinct was that of positivity or excitement, as I naively thought that on the surface of things that if America weren't buying from China, then of course they'll come to other manufacturing, large exporting countries such as us here in Taiwan. And I might have had good reason to believe that may be true, because one spokesperson for Taiwan's Economics Ministry's Investment Bureau has already announced that at least 40 businesses based in China are planning to relocate to Taiwan, which will of course be great for our economy. But, and as always in my videos, there's usually a big but. One interesting fact that I discovered is that according to Taiwan's stock exchange, the official number of listed Taiwanese companies operating in China stands at 1,200. And companies such as Quanta Computer, Delta Electronics, and of course Foxconn, famous for their iPhone contract, have invested a huge 87 billion US dollars in China since economic ties were established back in the 1990s. And actually, China claimed that this figure to be wrong and is actually higher, with a total of 48,000 Taiwanese firms with investments of a total of over 120 billion US dollars in China. But whichever figure is correct, it's fair to say that there's a hell of a lot of Taiwanese money in China. So, unfortunately for us, it seems that any economic tariffs, embargoes, or restrictions on the Chinese economy from the US will also seriously affect our economy here in Taiwan, both directly through Taiwanese companies manufacturing products in China who can no longer sell to their highest customer, the US, or at least they're going to find it more difficult to sell to them, which will affect top-line revenue in these companies. But also, if China's economy suffers, then they as a whole are less likely to be importing goods from surrounding countries, and as 41% of Taiwan's total exports head directly across the Taiwan Strait to China, again, we are going to suffer, especially as almost 2/3 of our GDP comes from exports. Therefore, not only is there a lot of Taiwanese money already invested in China, there's also a lot of money coming into Taiwan every year from the same place. So, to answer the question in the title as simply as possible, how will the trade war affect us in Taiwan? Well, I don't think it's going to be very good, to be honest. It's probably going to mean a drop in exports, a drop in revenue for China-based Taiwanese companies, and as I mentioned earlier, it's not really going to be good for any country. In my opinion, this is a perfect example of two big bullies in the schoolyard having a fight between each other, and then the teacher ends break time for everybody and everyone suffers because of the egos of those two idiots. But one thing I do want to discuss is whether or not anything can be done about it. Well, of course, the hope is that the whole thing settles down and His Highness Trump and Emperor Xi both back down and let everything go back to it was before. But if they don't, what options does Taiwan have for protecting ourselves and our economy? Well, one place that often came up while I was researching the topic and discussing it with some other Taiwanese friends is a country just to the south of China, and that's Vietnam. This country has been seen by the rest of the world as a very good alternative to China in terms of manufacture and investment, both geographically and economically. And Taiwan is also following suit and investing lots of money into this Southeast Asian country. Apparently, over the last 30 years, Taiwan has invested $30 billion or more into Vietnam, 80% of which was in manufacturing related businesses. Of course, not much when compared to the money we have put into China, but it's estimated that Taiwanese companies in Vietnam have created 1.4 million extra jobs for locals there. So even if the whole Chinese economy does go tits up, as we like to say in Liverpool, it's nice to know that there may be some other options for us that can help lessen the negative effects or smooth the transition into sending the majority of our cheap labor manufacturing companies across the border into Vietnam, rather than just relying on the Chinese economy that everybody had previously thought was bulletproof. But as I mentioned earlier, the best thing for everybody would be if the two leaders of the countries involved in this pretty childish trade war would put their toys back in the pram and do what's best for the world economy and their own economies, as things could get a lot worse if they don't. But before I end this video, I'd love to get the opinion and the views of the Taiwanese public and those who watch my videos, as I think most of us, we are generally not professional economists, but rather just concerned citizens wanting the best for our country and our families. Do you think the trade war is justified? Which side are you on, if any? And if things do go wrong, then what do you think is Taiwan's best option moving forwards? As always, whatever you want to say about the matter, put it in the comment section down below and we'll have a chat. One thing I do want to say before I go, don't forget I do have an Instagram and Facebook that you can follow, a bit more of my interesting daily life, some funny photos from roundabouts Taiwan. If you want to check it out, link in the description below. But as for now, and as always, thanks a bunch for watching, guys. I really appreciate the support, and as always, I'll see you next time in my life in Taiwan. Peace.